Good morning, everybody. This is Danny from Deep South Homestead on Porch Time today. Guys, I'm sitting out on the pier today. And you're going to hear the chickens in the background. You're going to hear all kind of noises probably, but I just got through working on filling up one of the raised beds in the new greenhouse, and it's hot. It is 9/23, 8th month, 30th day. Hot as heck, humid as heck. Sun's beaming down. I've got a bamboo shade thing here behind me, which is probably going to start blowing in the wind, because the thing I like about the pier here at the pond is we get an occasional breeze down through here, and that makes it so nice to be able to stop. Where the greenhouse is located right beside me, because of the way they're situated, no wind hardly ever comes in there on them whatsoever. So I did that on purpose because of bad storms and stuff. But it does get hot. So guys, today's going to be an unusual porch time. As you all know, we had one taken down because of specific language that I used. And I was sent word by YouTube itself that I was not to be using these words anymore, in a nice little email that told me that I can't use certain words. If I do, my videos will. They took them down, not me. They took them down. And even though I did a review on them, within 45 minutes I got a no back, So now, when I signed on to YouTube, I did agree to their terms, and I know that freedom of speech is being taken away, and as wrong as it may be, or as right as it may be, I have no control over it. So rather than lose our channel and everything, if you want the in-depth stuff, you're going to have to go to Patreon. That's just all I can say. I can't. It's not me, it's them doing this to us. So today, Porch Time is going to be a little unusual. When it comes to specific words, I will use riddles or acrostics or something like that, rather than using the actual words themselves, and you're going to have to figure out what I'm talking about. And it shouldn't be too hard. It's just that I have to stay out of a particular algorithm. And we will see if this one gets me in trouble or not. But I want to talk about insects today. And I know you're probably thinking, well now, that shouldn't be a problem. Well, yeah, you got to know where I'm going with it. So, insects, think about it. They're talking about making protein-based food sources out of insects now, cockroaches and stuff like that, and for the future. This is in part of the documents that a particular part that overrules the world has stated in their documents. And saying that we need to get rid of eating meat, and we need to go to more plant-based proteins and insect-based proteins. There are roach motels and hotels now where they're raising these things and stuff. So what I want to do today is I want to enlighten us a little bit on something that I got caught up in a rabbit hole. I've been shelling some peanuts because I wanted to make peanut butter. We have peanuts, and I wanted to make some peanut butter. Nothing wrong with that. I've never done it. We have the stuff to do it with. And I told Wanda, I said, I think I want to make some peanut butter. So I had a big old bag of peanuts that we harvested here, and they'd done dried. So I was sitting and shelling these peanuts out, and I'm watching how to make peanut butter. It's really a relatively simple process. The only problem is the peanut butter you get in the store today is not healthy. It's not healthy at all. I'm going to be honest about it. They add oils to the peanut butter, which is totally unnecessary. You don't have to do that. They add sugars to it. They add corn syrup solids. They add all kinds of, just stuff that just does not have to be added to peanut butter. They put it in there. And then we have the issue of people go, well, I'm allergic to peanut butter. Okay. More than likely, you're probably not. Now, I mean, that'll be between you and your doctor to decide that, but you probably aren't. Once you get through hearing me today, you might realize what's really the problem. Now, peanuts, we raise two different kinds of peanuts here. We have the Virginia Fancies, which is your plain peanut, and we have the jungle peanuts. Now, standard peanuts like Little Tennessee Reds, Virginia Fancies, all these kind of things, they're like corn or anything else like that, nuts of any kind. They're all known to carry alpha toxins. Now, alpha toxins are extremely harmful to the human system. A lot of your liver cancers and pancreatic cancers and all that stuff come from these alpha toxins. As a matter of fact, I have lots of friends that's died from pancreatic cancer. Every one of them always had a bag of peanuts in their hand. You know, they were always eating peanuts. And it goes with the territory. I mean, it's 100% with me of people I know who's died with pancreatic cancer. They all ate a lot of peanuts. And it's a known fact that alpha toxin causes liver and pancreatic cancer. But jungle peanuts, on the other hand, is not susceptible to the alpha toxin poison. So that's why here at Deep South Homestead, we do try to raise some jungle peanuts. The taste is a little different, but not much. And for the safety factor, I think that making peanut butter, the jungle peanuts, would really be the best bet to use if it was, you know, it's what I'm going to say. But guys, when I began to sit and look at peanut butter, I got hit with something that was just really, really strange to me. That's where I got caught in the rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole led me down a long road that by the time I got through, I didn't ever want nothing out of the store again in my life. I mean, I'm being honest with you. Now, Wanda, she's a big-time chocolate eater. She likes chocolate. Chocolate's actually a good heart health. It's good for your heart. It's got good digestive things about it. I mean, chocolate is not, in its entirety, is not bad for you if you get the right kind of chocolate. Let me say that. But let me back up to what happened with the peanut butter. Well, when I was looking into peanut butter, I got to looking into impurities in peanut butter. You know, like I just mentioned to you, they add specific corn solids, corn oils. They add all these soybean oils, and guys, we know all that stuff's genetically modified. They put all that stuff in there, which makes it extremely harmful. And then I got to digging a little bit deeper, and I come across the recommendations, and I'm going to use a term here. I want y'all to listen to what I'm saying, and I want you to pay attention. I'm going to use the number 641 of the alphabet. Now, that is an organization. If you take the 6th letter, the 4th letter, and the 1st letter, this organization is what makes the rules for all of our food. And that shouldn't be too hard to figure out, okay? Because I can't use that word on here because I'll get in trouble. So the 641 group said that a certain amount, like 6 to 8 insect particles per gram of peanut butter is permitted in peanut butter. And I was like, 6 to 8 insect parts is permitted per gram of peanut butter. I'm like, what does that mean? So when I began to dig deeper into the 641's, their rules and their regulations, then I come into a lot of stuff that it just blew my mind. I'm going to use, the next thing I'm going to use is ketchup. When you make ketchup, it comes from tomatoes. Now, when tomatoes are green on a stalk, there's a moth that lays an egg right in the stem of that tomato, which is common knowledge, and it puts what's called a pinworm into that tomato. And when tomatoes grow up, that worm is actually in the tomatoes, and a lot of us eat them raw. It goes into our system. We don't think anything about it. But the 641 rules states that pinworms and a certain percentage of insect parts are permitted in tomato sauces and tomato ketchups and stuff. So insect parts up to a certain amount is allowed into ketchup. Now, guys, I mean, this is alarming to me, okay? Even though I knew about the worm thing in the tomatoes, and I knew that our digestive enzymes in our stomach usually kills it, their theory is the heating process of cooking the tomatoes and all kills any of that stuff. Well, I backed back up and I said, wow, this is kind of interesting. I said, well, is anything, you know, what more? I want to learn a little bit more about peanut butter. So I got to looking at botulism in peanut butter because a lot of people leave it sitting out on the counter, and some people, you know, some of them say refrigerate it, some say don't refrigerate it. Peanut butter within itself, if it's pure, can sit out on the counter. Now, it will go rancid over a period of time, but you can usually smell of it or look at it. It will not be creamy anymore. It'll get kind of a dry texture. You smell of it. You can smell when oil goes bad because it goes rancid after a period of time. But lots of them have wrote on it, must be refrigerated. That's because they've added things into it that makes it have to be refrigerated. So, in pure homegrown, homemade peanut butter, botulism is not really a big factor because it really has properties that actually fights it. It's got the oils and the lack of air being able to get into things. There's a whole thing you can go into and read about that yourself that prevents it from actually causing the forming of botulism in it. But then I was like, that's interesting. This is really interesting. So it led me into a rabbit hole again. You know, I was like, okay, let me just check out some other stuff. So I began to look at chocolate, because Wanda likes chocolate. You know, I mean, and chocolate's not that bad for you if you buy the right kind of chocolate. And that's where it got really, weird at. The 641 organization has rules that allow anywhere between, and guys, it depends on what site you look at. I mean, all of them that I looked at had different answers to everything. I'm just using a roundabout figure inside this. But the 641 company stated that you could have anywhere between 8, I think it was 8 and 11 insect particles in a gram of chocolate in order for it to be safe. And then as I kept reading and kept looking into this, it even went down as to say that they are now adding cockroaches to the chocolate because of their protein source. It raises the protein up in the chocolate. So therefore, that's the reason for the permitting of the 8 to 11 particles of insects being inside the chocolate when it's made. Now, Wanda, it just blew her mind. Blew my mind. I was like, is this really real? But you know, I went onto the 641's site, and it's there. It's there. Check it out yourself. You don't have to believe me. And Wanda was like, I don't think I can eat chocolate anymore. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't blame you. I mean, I know there's things out there called chocolate-covered crickets, chocolate-covered grasshoppers, chocolate-covered roaches, all this stuff. I know that's out there and people eat it. But, guys, just the thought of knowing that they've approved the grinding up of insects to be put into my food, especially a cockroach. Now, I could probably handle some insects, but I don't want a cockroach in my chocolate. I don't want a cockroach in nothing I eat, you know? But they're making it legal to use it in chocolate. So I was like, wow, this is really crazy. I said, let me just choose something off the wall. I said, let me just get this wild hair. I want to choose something off the wall. What about Skittles? You know, you see kids eating Skittles, adults eat Skittles, everybody eats Skittles. I went and looked at what's in Skittles. Do you know that the red dye that was used in Skittles actually comes from an insect? Yeah, comes from an insect. Now, I can't pronounce the insect's name. It's a weird name. I'm like, what? The red dye that comes from an insect. The scale from an insect. Now, there was some documents in 2009. Something changed in 2009. I didn't have time to read it all, guys. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, really? something as simple as Skittles has insects in Skittles. I was like, wow, this is just really disturbing to think that our food system's like this. And I was sitting there and I looked up on the counter, and I don't eat light bread because I have a gluten issue. Wanda, you know, she buys the whole grain bread so that she can have a sandwich every so often, or a piece of toast or something like that. So I was like, what's in plain old white bread? You know, what's in it? So now that, I probably shouldn't have looked at that, because I'll probably never eat bread again. You know, it says from the 641 company that a certain amount of insect particles, I don't remember the exact thing. I looked at so much stuff, guys. I don't remember all the numbers of particles of insects. I think it was around 8 or 12 or something like that, of insect particles could be permitted into white bread, which I already said, well, I get it, it's in everything else, okay. But then they said a certain amount of human hair is definitely permissible in it. Hog hair is certainly permissible in it. And went on to list an array of other ground up cow horns, all this stuff is binding agents in this corn, in this bread. I was like, oh my God. I said, people's eating light bread and it's made with human hair, hog bristle, ground up cow horns. This is wrong, people. What's wrong with just taking and grinding up some wheat and adding a little yeast and a little leavening to it and making bread? They went on to talk about all the stuff they put in it to make it shelf stable. And I was showing Wanda, and she was like, I don't know if I want to eat bread anymore. And I told her, I said, you know what? This is bottom line. We ain't buying nothing from the store ever again, I don't guess. I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder what I can buy, what I can't buy. But it's nothing is as it seems. Because the 641 makes all the rules for our country as far as what goes into our food stuff. And it's not good. Now, when I make my cornmeal, now let me say this, let me back up. I was looking at grits and stuff like that. They have a certain amount of insect particles that's allowed in grits and cornmeal and stuff like that. And I get that, corn has weevils in it. Now my corn personally, my Danny corn that I raise, I hand pick every kernel of corn that I save for grinding. I'll look at that kernel and put it down. And my daddy laughed at me one day. He goes, son, what the hell are you doing? I was at his house after my wife had passed away, staying and helping them out, and I raised some corn there. And I said, I'm selecting corn for seed and for making cornmeal. He goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm looking at it to make sure it don't have weevil signs in it. He said, what difference does that make, son? He said, you're going to grind it up and cook it anyway. But that's just my dad's old school. That's the way they were, And he said, you're selecting out certain seeds. I said, yes, sir, from certain ears of corn. I said, I want to make sure I get the best ears of corn, and I want the seeds off of them. I don't want the little ones on the top. I don't want the weird-looking ones on the bottom. I want the good flat ones out of the most. You get an occasional bad one. I told him, I said, I don't want the weevil, and stuff like that in there. And he said, just shell them off, son. He said, we just run ours through a hand thing, and when it come time to plant, we just planted extra seeds. The ones that had weevils in them, I was like, Daddy, I just can't do that. I'm different than you. I said, I'm just a little different. And so I hand pick all my kernels of corn. I put any seed that I sell from corn has been put in a freezer for at least 2 weeks to make sure that any egg sources that's in it's been frozen and killed. And then I will put it out for sale, or I will take my own and I will grind it to eat, and that gives me some peace of mind that the cornmeal and the grits and all this kind of the corn flour that we're making here is at least doesn't have a lot of insect particles in it. Now, I'm not saying there's not something there, but I clean all my equipment out really good, because a lot of people go, well, man, your equipment may have insects in it. And I'm like, no, my equipment don't have insects. I clean it thoroughly. And guys, this is what happens when you start studying your food sources. This is why at Deep South Homestead, we raise just about everything we eat here. You know, I mean, with the exception of a few things that Wanda gets for her at the store, a few things we might order for me off a line that we don't have any control over, like almonds or something like that. I mean, I don't have any control over what they spray them with, but I have to have something to make some kind of flour out of, whether it's rice flour or almond flour because of my gluten issue. I have no control over that. Now, I could make acorn flour. I've only got one acorn tree down here that I planted many years ago that has the big white cowhorn acorns on, the old big ones. And it's finally up big enough, it's producing some acorns. That maybe in the future, I will be able to harvest some off of that. I have 3 chestnut trees I've planted over here that's taken their dear sweet time about even growing. They've been there 3 or 4 years and they've hardly grown at all. And I know it probably has to do with location, soil type, and all that stuff. I'm probably going to plant me a couple of more so I could make chestnut flour, you know, stuff like that. I'm trying to learn actively, guys. I'm trying to actively learn how to survive this coming collapse, that so that I can have things. But guys, the whole point of today is, please start growing your own food. You know, you're going to start seeing some videos coming about with Wanda and I. We've purchased some more equipment here at Deep South Homestead. We've made some changes. I told Wanda, I said, with everything that's going on in the world today, it's quite possible that we're going to need some of this equipment to do stuff. And she's like, well, I hate to down our money. And I said, look, it may not be that good in the future anyway. So let's just go ahead and buy this equipment, and let's just start doing our own stuff. We got to make it easier on ourselves. We're getting older, and we just got to make things as easy as we can. You know, I mean, I told her, I said, let's just do it. And so she agreed, and we've purchased some more equipment. And I want to do some videos in the near future. Probably, I don't know if it'll be next week. I'm hoping it's next week. We're going to be able to show some of this equipment and how we're using it. And I think that you will agree with us when we do it, that it's probably the best way that we found to be able to do this stuff. And it will last a lifetime. And that's the good thing about it. When you purchase some of this equipment, it's lifetime stuff. It's all hand operated. There's no motors in anything. And that's the beauty of it. We're trying to encourage people to purchase hand operated things. Things that doesn't require electricity or anything like that to make it happen. Now, the only thing here at Deep South Homestead that we're lacking in right now is when we make our sugar cane, we have to use a gas-powered engine to run something around and around in circles because we don't have a mule, you know. And that would be another purchase that we would have to make here at Deep South Homestead if we bought a mule, and that would, you know, because we're actively moving stuff from the fields over to greenhouses so that we can start growing more intensely in a climate-controlled environment because of what's going on with our atmosphere, and having to watch what I say in order to keep getting in trouble. And our surroundings around us, and the solar minimum that we're actually going into, you know, I just don't know if purchasing a mule is really worth it right now, because we're getting older. I don't know that I can actually walk behind a mule very long in a field plow. I could probably do it for a while, you know, and it would be good to have one to turn the cane mill with. In the event that we didn't have any gasoline or something like that, because cane is our major source of sweetener here, and we have more this year than we know what to do with. So there will be some for sale up on Etsy in October. we will probably be putting it up for sale, because we've got, this has been the year for growing sugarcane. And we missed the storms. It didn't get blowed down. Not to say that we won't get another one in here and do it, because you can have a thunderstorm and do it if you get the straight line winds or something. But as of right now, it's all doing pretty fair. And yes, it will be for sale on Etsy this October. So for those of you who've been asking me, sending me emails, there you go. Okay. We're going to be having some seeds for sale on our Etsy store and things like that. So just keep watching our Etsy store. We'll be putting up things as they get ready. We're not a big seed producing company, and most of the stuff that we sell here, almost all of it, comes from Deep South Homestead. So you might get a weird seed every now and then that might have an insect problem with it. I try to hand pick them all, but I'm human. I could miss something. And I try to use viable seeds. You know, that's good seeds. And most of the people who's ever purchased from us, I don't think they've had any problems. I mean, we had one person who said they didn't get anything to germinate, but after talking to them, I think that it was more after they told me what they'd done, I explained to them where they made a lot of mistakes, and they realized it probably was their fault. But keep watching Etsy store if you're interested in seeds, because they're going to be in short supply. This year, Wanda and I will probably be raising plants to sell at a local place here in town. We've been asked to do that. And we may do it. We don't know yet. We might. Depends on how much time we have. And one other thing I want to mention before I get off of here is, guys, should Deep South Homestead be pulled? Because come December, all the YouTube rules change. YouTube can pull your channel and not even tell you. They don't have to tell you why. If you make a boo-boo, they can just take your channel away from you. You just wake up the next morning, go to it, and it's not there. You know, if that happens, I'm going to ask y'all at this point to go to our other channel. And we have another one. It's called CRAZY DAZES, CRAZY DAZES. That's basically Wanda's channel, but it's also a backup channel for Deep South Homestead. I would appreciate it if you would go over there and just subscribe to it, because if anything happens to Deep South Homestead, that's where we'll be. If they don't take that channel, we'll be there. And if they take that channel, we also have another one that we don't talk about. We just keep it in the background. So go over to CRAZY DAZES and check it out and subscribe to it, because it is our other channel. And I'm not trying to tell people to go to somebody else's channel. It is our channel. It is it's one where if something happens here, that's where we'll be. And lots of people say, well, why don't y'all go to Brighteon? We're on Brighteon already. Lots of people say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? We're in a lot of different places, just minutely. We have videos on Facebook. We have stuff around everywhere. Guys, it's just in case. You know, right now we're on Patreon with lots of videos over there. And I'm getting word that Patreon may even in the future start having to pull stuff because of the politically correctness that we're into right now. So that's just a heads up, guys. And please start raising your own food. Go do the research. Don't take my word for what I said about insects in food today. Go do your own research with the 641 company and that makes all the rules for our food, and see what their rules and regulations are for any food product that you just like. You know, like us, we looked at the peanut butter, we looked at the Skittles, we looked at bread, you know, like I told you, we looked at chocolate, things like that. And I looked at a bunch of other stuff. I'm not going into all of it, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. Rodent hair was a big one for me that just really I couldn't stomach the fact that a lot of them said that a certain percentage of rodent hair was permitted in the food, and that just kind of done it for me. But check out the insects in the food system. I think you'll be surprised. I was blown away. I'm not gonna lie. I was totally shocked, and I do I do hope that you guys will heed what I said about checking out Crazy Days as an alternate place for us if something happens. And guys, grow your own food. It's the only way to get good, healthy, safe food. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.